Hello, GenZ Developers. I want to give you a review of this amazing book called Accelerate, which talks about the science of lean software and DevOps, and it's all about building and scaling high-performance technology organizations. What I want to talk to you about is Appendix A, which talks about 24 key capabilities that their research have uncovered, which are a lot of common sense, but it's the kind of thing that it's very important to actually follow this up. So I want to talk about the first section, which is called continuous delivery, and I want to put that into perspective also with some of the content I talk about in the book. So the first one, that is a capability that you really need to focus on, is use version control for all production artifacts. So basically, this is about using Git. They talk about Subversion, but nobody uses Subversion these days. So this is about using Git for everything you do. Everything you do has to have version control. And it's very key that you, as a developer, learn how to use this, learn how to think in Git, learn how to use it for everything from files to documents to code, and everything you do needs to be version controlled. The next one, it's about automate your deployment process and implement continuous integration. Although they have different capabilities, I view them as the same. Fundamentally, what you want is a situation where every time you push code to GitHub, automatically that triggers a process to get your code into a production or at least a test environment. And what that means, it means that you push to GitHub, that triggers a hook into something like Travis or other systems that then pull the code, run some tests, and then basically trigger the deployment into a test environment and eventually into a production environment. Another one they talk about is use trunk-based development methods. So there's an interesting one here, which is trunk-based is when you basically commit to master very regularly. I kind of have two minds on this because I think it's quite healthy to sometimes have long-lived branches, which is basically when you create a branch from your code and you run on it. What you want to make sure is that your branch hits the same continuous integration as everything else, and you keep testing it. The next one is implement test automation. For me, it's a given, right? Like you need to be writing tests about everything, and you need to automate the execution of those tests. I need to think about how that flows from very small tests to big tests. And I have a big definition of tests. For me, anything that you do should have a test, and the test is something that tests something. Clear, right? So basically means that a test can go from what we call a unit test to an integration test. What matters is what is the most efficient way to test the change that you just made and the questions that you are asking to the code. Connected to this is the sixth point, which is support test data management. And this is actually very important. In order to have effective tests, you have to have good test data. Ideally, the test data should be as close as possible to the real data, including some cool stuff in the past where you actually record real traffic and you replay it to understand it. And you actually use anonymized versions of the real data to actually run it. So you need to take your tests and your test data very seriously because the better it is, the better and more efficient it is. Now, this is very close to my heart and what I do every day, which is talks about shift left on security. And what this is, it's about pushing security sooner into the development pipeline. So the idea is that if the development pipeline goes from left to right, I do this and this and this and this. So the idea is that the sooner we do our security checks, the more efficient it is. And they have really good data here. They have data that actually proves that the more you do it, the more efficient you are, the better your code. And I have personal experience on this. So the sooner you do your security checks, the more quality your code actually has, because security a lot of times is finding quality issues. And then you have continuous delivery. And basically, the logic here, which is already covered in the other ones, is that your code should be deployable every time. Ideally, you should be deploying every day, should be deploying every hour. So you should have a situation where you can basically continue to deliver your software where it becomes a political or a business decision, i.e. you can push to production, but the business might want to push it every day or every month or every whatever, but it should be a business decision. So everything you do, you should have a deliverable piece of software or application. Versus having this big push at the end where you kind of just then fix all the bugs and then get it to a deliverable state. And that is fundamental, right? That is what really makes a difference. And these guys, again, have science to prove that that actually gives you high-performance teams, high-effective teams, really happy teams. So there you go. That's the first 8 capabilities from this great book. And I hope you enjoyed it.